Approval often feels small. A nod. A reply. A short message of agreement. Nothing dramatic happens. Yet something settles inside. Tension eases. Uncertainty softens. Most people do not notice this shift. They just notice that it feels better than silence. Because of that, approval is often misunderstood. It is usually explained as insecurity, or a need for validation, or a lack of confidence. These explanations sound neat. They make the behavior easy to judge. But they miss what is actually happening. Approval is not just about feeling good. It is about feeling stable. The brain is constantly scanning for signals. Signals about safety. Signals about belonging. Signals about whether something needs to be corrected. Approval acts as one of those signals. When approval appears, the brain relaxes its alertness. Nothing urgent needs fixing. Nothing threatens social standing in that moment. This response is quiet and automatic. It does not feel like desire. It feels like relief. Over time, the brain starts to associate approval with resolution. A loop forms. Effort followed by approval feels complete. Effort without approval feels unfinished. This is where the pull begins. In work settings, this shows up clearly. Feedback becomes more than information. It becomes emotional closure. A task is not fully done until someone acknowledges it. Silence after effort feels unsettling. Not because the work was bad, but because the loop stayed open. Socially, the same pattern appears. Messages left unread feel heavier than negative replies. A lack of response creates ambiguity. The brain does not like ambiguity. It keeps checking. Approval ends the checking. In daily digital life, this becomes even stronger. Reactions. Views. Replies. Each one confirms visibility. Each one reduces uncertainty. The absence of them does the opposite. This is where approval starts to feel addictive. Not because it creates pleasure, but because it removes discomfort. At this point, the internal logic becomes clearer. Approval feels addictive for a few simple reasons. One reason. Approval signals alignment. It tells the brain that you fit within the current environment. When alignment is confirmed, the mind stops monitoring for social correction. 2 reason. Approval closes mental loops. It turns effort into completion. Without it, the brain keeps the task active. With it, the system rests. 3 reason. Approval protects self-image. It confirms that how you are seen matches how you see yourself. When those two match, internal friction drops. These reasons are not dramatic. They are mechanical. Which leads to an important question. Is approval addiction always about low self-worth? No. It is often about predictability. The brain prefers clear signals over uncertainty. Another question follows. Why does the absence of approval feel uncomfortable? Because the brain expects feedback to resolve effort. When it does not arrive, attention stays engaged. The loop remains open. A final question. Does approval ever stop feeling addictive? Sometimes. Usually when internal signals become strong enough to replace external ones. Not because approval disappears, but because it becomes less necessary for closure. In a world built around constant feedback, approval becomes easy to access. And anything easy to access gets used more often than intended. Approval does not announce itself as a craving. It arrives quietly. As relief. As confirmation. As a moment where nothing needs to be questioned. That is why it feels addictive. Not because it adds something, but because it briefly removes uncertainty. And the brain remembers that.